Yeah.
Hey, some accolades. How many properties?
I have, like I said, 330 units. So
This is the intro. Not to it's to tell people basically listen.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen to this guy.
I own about 30 million in real estate.
30 million in real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, what else can we say? Accolades.
I am a partner at Aptive. Our org's going to do
250 mil.
Oh, you mean Aptive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do about 250 this year.
Let's go.
And
your group. And your group.
So technically about 60 of that.
Love
but that. We only focus on like 30. But okay. You know how Damon,
Damon,
yeah. Well, anyway, he's not actually there anymore, but
okay,
I don't know if you knew that.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Love Damon stuff, but yeah, I get it. I get it, bro. Okay, cool. What else? How many kids do you have now?
4.
Been married how long?
It's coming up on 13 years.
Okay. All right, let's run it. Guys, welcome to the podcast. We have Kevin Mehner in the house today. Kevin, thank you for joining me.
Of course, brother. Thanks for having me.
Kevin is a old-time friend of mine. He actually got me as part of my process in joining the door-to-door industry. I was already in sales before, but of like high-level mentorship and building, recruiting, training, all of it. Kevin was a part of my journey. Back in 2017 was the start of that. So
was that when you started?
Yeah. Really? I started in 2015, did solar for 2 years. And
seems like a lifetime ago, man.
2017. I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
Time flies. So guys, Kevin has done, he's a partner at Aptive. He's helped build that company. For those of you who don't know, that is the largest service-based organization in the United States, as far as I know. That's direct sales. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. His crew will do about 60 million of the total 250 million that they're doing. You have 30 million in real estate invested. It's amazing, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kevin, he's married, 4 kids, been married 13 years.
Yeah.
Lives here in Utah. You're in your building, you said, where?
Well, we built our dream home in Woodland Hills. And then again, we're big alignment people. We're big, like, whatever we feel we do. And so we just took our kids to a private school in Provo. And it's not too often that you have, by the way, I'm looking at you, not this, right? Mm-hmm. It's not too often that you, I've always kind of had this thing with education where I knew I had a vision of what I wanted.
Okay.
But it wasn't like, it just wasn't getting fulfilled, but I was always in the back of my mind of what I wanted to do. And I had an idea. There's this place called Acton Academy that I listened to a podcast 2 years ago. And I was like, it was one of those moments where you listen to it like, oh, in education, this is exactly what I want. Like, this is the exact alignment that I want for my kids. And it just didn't work out because of whatever, too far away from a location or whatever. And then my wife and I were on a trip in Italy, and we just were feeling super vibey and aligned and stuff. And we were like, hey, sometimes when you think about, when we're in scarcity, you think about, what am I losing? Versus abundance is like, what am I gaining? And when you think about that, then it's really fun to make investments into abundant things that are like just force multipliers for just your life and alignment and everything. And so we both got aligned, and we were like, hey, no matter what it takes, if we have to hire someone to drive our kids, if we have to do whatever, to feel aligned with this, then we'll do it. And so when we got back from that trip, we went and toured the school. It's in Provo. And just, dude, it was crazy. Just
like this is happening.
I was crying in it. It was unreal.
Oh, yeah, I know. It was unreal. I've had an experience like that.
And so anyway, that was the onus for moving. So yeah, we're renovating a house there, but never thought we'd leave our place. It's a vibe. So
yeah, you were in the same neighborhood as Chris Crown.
Yeah.
I was over there. We flew in, and you're like, "Hey, come pop over."
Yeah, it's a great spot.
But yeah, it is.
It's a lot of snow in the winter, and
I believe it.
But this right now is the best.
That's awesome, man. So we were chatting a little bit before this, and with our community being a lot of salespeople, we've got some entrepreneurs on there. You offer a lot of value in a lot of different ways, and we're just trying to discover, hey, where would it be good for us to hit on for this audience. And I can tell you're very passionate about alignment.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Good question, man. I think that I've always been somebody that really cares about authenticity. And then also, I've, up until I was about 20, I felt very unaligned and very uninspired and unmotivated. And when you have a really high degree of intentionality, that can also come at a cost, because when you're not intentional, then you can beat yourself up a lot. And so it's just been a process of kind of self-discovery and healing and acceptance and stuff. But
Love that.
there's just something about it. I don't know. I like if there was something that was on my gravestone written today, it would probably be like devotion to ideal. And again, ideal is very like, well, what does that even mean, right? But it's all individual to that person.
Yeah.
But just like devotion to that vision of your higher self, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think what kind of started that, to be honest, for this community, and I'm just a very honest person, but when I left religion 4 or 5 years ago, that was a big part of it. Was just like, and I'm not saying that's the path for everybody, but it was just like, it was more of a statement of not necessarily that this was bad, but more of a conscious coming to myself.
Yeah.
And kind of coming inward and basically choosing to choose me and my intuition and my intentionality. And so that really set on a course of like, the last 3 years is
like self-discovery,
completely different, right? Like I used to say that like I recycle myself every, 5 years, it feels like, but it's felt like every, 30 days now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's powerful, Kevin. That's how you know you're growing.
Yeah. And it takes stepping over those fences that feel like very scary, because, they're just belief systems or whatever that you have in the way that are kind of stopping you, that fear that's stopping. But
yeah. Well, dude, if I can just comment on what you're saying, how critical this is, I've learned through failing and succeeding at this. And I know I haven't even touched the success of some people of the power of authenticity, but basically alignment is an issue, I think, in today's world, because we have so many voices, so many things, of whether it's religion, whether it's a community, a group, social media, friends, family. There's so many pressures of our culture that are pulling us in different directions. You should be doing this. You should eat this way. You should live this way. Right. And even this podcast is a form of like cultural pressure saying you should do certain things, live a certain way. And I try to put out good content, good things that we believe in that actually make a difference in people's lives. But the problem is when you do things that don't truly align with you, you're lacking, as what you said, is authenticity. And I've learned that is the highest form of attraction. It's because that when you vibrate at that level, you're vibrating at the highest frequency. And that's what people are attracted to. They're attracted to people who are certain, that have certainty.
Yep.
And certainty for me, this is for Nick Nascimento. This isn't, scripture, but like it comes from how I live my life, not being perfect, but becoming the best version of myself in serving and impacting people. And when I live in alignment with that, and I'm growing and developing, I do feel more certain. And then, but also I think it's learning to tune out the world and tune into what's in us. And when we get more in tune, and for me, it's been slowing down, and because I'm always the go, get shit done, move fast, accomplish, but slow down. What am I deeply passionate about? What's important? What's this about? Like, why am I doing this? What's the end goal?
Yeah. Essentially, you're analyzing your belief systems, right? Because there's a belief system that says that I have to move fast.
Exactly.
That I have to do this, And it's like, well, then you ask yourself the question, and questions are really the answers. A good question is so much more powerful than an answer.
It is.
Because it unlocks like everything.
Yeah, it does.
It's like, well, why do I feel like I have to move fast? Like,
yes.
What is this? Where did I get that? And I think I like Harry Potter. I'm not a big Harry Potter nerd, but I think over time, for those that have watched Harry Potter, right, it's like Voldemort has these Horcruxes or whatever, and it's parts of his soul that are kind of scattered across, the Harry Potter land or whatever. And I kind of view that as like when we grow up, it's like we have all these fragments or these places that we chose something that wasn't aligned with us. And part of the rediscovery is coming back and being like, well, does this actually align with me? Is this something that like grounds and like, is this something that like resonates and speaks to my soul? And we have the opportunity to go back and it's really easy to find those places because it's just like, to your point of that authentic place. To make it simple for people, it's like, hey, when you show up and you are acting like out of the box as intended, meaning there's no glitch in the way that you're like just like operating, meaning like you show up, you smile when you want to smile, you laugh when you want to laugh, you express when you want to express,
not to appease anybody.
Yeah, just like, I'm showing up and I'm going to authentically pour into this person and tell them how I feel because I really mean that and I want to. So your throat chakra starts opening up. You start speaking with power, with clarity. You're not second guessing. You're not thinking about everything you're doing. You're just doing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that, like you said, that power comes through.
Yeah.
And why do we do that? Or how do we know those things? It's like, well, just look where you're reactive. Look where there's this like very Jekyll and Hyde-ness within yourself. And that's a sign. That's a lighthouse for you. Emotions are lighthouses for you to just look and say,
bingo. Hey,
what's going on here?
Yeah.
Am I brushing up with a belief system?
Yep.
And guess what? We choose, like, life it's not this, again, this is according to me, but I feel like it's a pretty universal truth is, life isn't, there's really very little things that are factual about life and more about how we perceive what we think reality is.
Agreed.
And so if we shift to that, then we live in that land of like, wait, so if I can choose to believe something and create a story, why not choose stories that I actually find joy in rather than, whatever, like endure to the end, like hold, it's like very, very like strenuous things, right? Rather than like, wait, I'm going to choose a story that I believe that empowers me, that brings out the highest version of me, that creates joy and fulfillment within myself, regardless of if anyone thinks that's universally true or not.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think, there's a lot of lessons to unpack there. One is, not doing things to appease others. And so a lot of people do. I was living that life too. And you can't be your authentic
and
self.
we all do. I do every day. Like,
to some degree we do. But detaching from that is critical. But you also mentioned the power of emotions and, the life that we live. It's like we don't live life. We live the life that we focus on. And so it's a choice. But what's beautiful about the emotional part that you mentioned is they are the telltale sign of, some work that you can do in your life. For me, like the vices were the evidence, the external evidence, and for anybody, whether it's pornography, whether it's alcohol, whether it's gambling, sex, like overworking, overeating, anything, right? It could be depression, anxiety. Those are just external symptoms of unmet needs, and usually in the form of emotions. Mm-hmm. And I think in today's world, so many of us don't find this alignment and this authenticity, as that true power to win people over and connect and just be happy for ourselves, because we're so distracted. Mm-hmm. And for me, I had to slow down to recognize, what am I feeling? Yeah. Right. And from the surface level, is like, oh, I have a porn problem. But really, as you peel back the layers and focused on that, like it was something deeper for me. It was, hey, I have a problem with, for me, it was loneliness, and it was anger. And these were emotions that I would just brush under the rug, And when I say brush under the rug, it was specifically working all the time. When I wasn't working, I was playing a video game. When I wasn't playing a video game, I was with people. My mind was always occupied. So I could never sit and just with those emotions. And why am I feeling that way? Because when you start asking those questions, as you mentioned, you start discovering the real reason where that's coming from. And if you can heal, one of my horcruxes for me, Kevin, was just a childhood memory of asking my dad if, I felt like I had a lot of potential. It was like a spiritual impression, brought it to my dad, and I said, hey, I feel this way. I was seeking his validation, basically. I was saying, do I have a lot of potential? He's like, of course you do, son. Everybody does. There's nothing wrong with what he said, but I was craving to be special, feel special that, and that was a part of my, my soul, I guess you'd say, that needed healing, because I was on this quest to seek validation. All my achievement a lot of it goes back to that moment.
Yeah.
And so I didn't recognize that until I started slowing down, eliminating distractions, focusing on, these questions like, why, hey, this is interesting. I'm feeling super lonely. Like, why is it that some people don't get lonely like this? And why do I get so lonely? Why does it hurt so bad? And then it was uprooting a lot of things from past that just needed attention and love, you know?
Yep.
And for me, I don't know about you, but when you can sit with those and heal, it's easier to discover a deeper part of yourself.
Getting curious. I mean, it's the same thing with other people, getting more genuinely curious in other people. Sometimes I like using my kids as an avatar to put in front of me. So if I'm trying to, instill some change within myself, then I'm talking to my son sometimes, and I'm like, okay, how would I talk to my son? And he's kind of representing me in this place. And so sometimes that can be helpful, but I think that, I think there's an awareness side and there's an embodiment side. And I think our culture, I'm like I have a PhD in this, but, being very mind, people, I am one, and I definitely, you're one of those for sure, but we can dredge up awarenesses for days, and, awarenesses are great because it allows you to kind of see a thing and suspend a thing and look at it. But then there's the embodiment side, which is, it's just choosing to, okay, I'm going to trust and try to be this thing in my body. I'm going to try to just live this reality. And it's kind of like, successful people that have built really big companies. In some ways they became that way. It was, in some ways it was an instant, a bunch of instant moments piled on each other, but it's like, okay, I don't have proof or validation for this thing, but I'm just going to decide that I'm just going to be this thing. And over time you become that thing, but it's because you consciously choose that you are, because you could just as easily choose not to be.
Correct.
Just like on a door, right? You face a door and someone comes out and moves their lips, and that's pretty much the only thing that's happening in like actual factual reality. Is someone is coming out, a physical being is coming out and moving their lips. And, the actual words that they say, you can decide to think it's this or, 100 different things, but it just matters as which one is going to empower whatever goal it is that you have.
Interesting.
Right. So when I started doing sales, it was like, okay, I want to succeed at sales. Okay. So that was my I am statement. That was my declaration, my intention. I want to do this. Right. And the only reason why any of these things that we're talking about matter, like our belief systems or the emotions and stuff, is based on what are we wanting to create consciously. Right. Because if you want to create a lonely person that looks at porn, like if that was your intention, then cool. Like that's actually fine. I'm actually cool with it.
Yeah.
If that's what you're consciously deciding.
Right.
And so it first is, what are you consciously deciding to do? What's your declaration that you're putting forth of who you are into the universe? Okay. So if you're knocking a door and you want to go succeed at sales, if when you go to that door, they start moving their lips and you choose a disempowering way to view this. Yeah. They must not like me. I must be a bother. Blah, 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 blah.
You will manifest it.
Exactly. So that's not aligned with what your I am was. If you choose this every time, like you're not going to do this. You're not going to last. I realized that very early on in sales that I had a belief system that salespeople were pushy. And so I didn't want to be pushy. Like that's not how, like, I definitely don't want to be that way. So what I had to do is I had to realize first had to define what pushy was. Nice. And I said, okay, What is pushy? It's like, it's when somebody, understands, feels energetically that someone is that they're not about this, and they bulldoze them and they push and they try to get them to buy. And I said, okay, that's what I've defined push yes. Now, what is a type of sale that I feel aligned? It's when someone asks the price. It's when somebody has a switch, has a service. It's X, Y, Z. And so I defined all the things that I feel aligned to sell, and I disregarded that. And I just said, cool, I'm only going to do this. I'm only going to talk to these people. And all of a sudden it opened up a different world that served my original intention of, I want to be good at this job, right? Same thing happened with recruiting. We get back from recruiting. We get back from the summer. I realized early on, so many people, when we got back to college, were like, okay, man, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. And I'm like, I want to go make a bunch of money in recruiting. And if I think this, that all I see everyone doing, I don't want to be this guy, I don't want to be that. That's another counter intuitive thing to reaching this intention that I have. So then I was another juncture of like, okay, well, how can I reprogram this to actually be empowering rather than disempowering to this I am that I have?
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, well, let's see. I just had a really amazing experience. I would be pretty upset if I went all of college and no one told me about this. Like that would suck.
Nice.
So then all of a sudden, switch.
You're getting the conviction.
Now all of a sudden, it's like, cool. I got to give people the opportunity to hear what I'm saying, because I would be kind of mad if I didn't.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that serves my I am again. And then all of a sudden it flows and it's abundant and it's
same
abundant.
thing recruiting, but the perspective, the lens you're looking at is completely different. It's like, it's selfless. It's like, I almost need to talk to people about this, because if I don't, I'm going to feel guilty, because this has been an amazing opportunity.
Bingo. But the ultimate thing is going back. And this is the spot that I think people don't necessarily get into, which is what I just really love and focus on, is what is aligned. I don't believe in good and bad, actually. I really don't. I believe in, what are you creating? Are you creating consciously or unconsciously?
Okay.
What are you choosing to create? And now let's feed your belief systems and everything with ways that are creating what you want to create, because we're all creators, consciously or unconsciously.
Correct.
So there's no judgment.
Yeah.
And so if I'm working with somebody and they're like, hey, I'm experiencing this all the time. Okay, well, let's help you understand that you are unconsciously creating this.
That. Yeah.
And now let's decide what you want to consciously create. And now let's create belief systems and things that are actually serving that thing rather than this thing. Right. So you're conscious to the whole mechanism of it. In my opinion, it's really clear. Just a matter of getting clear of the whole thing. And that happens with porn. That happens with all this stuff. And again, I don't think it's actually helpful to feel a bunch of shame about being out of intention or out of alignment. It's just a matter of choosing that, like, oh, I'm actually choosing this. So it's empowering either way. I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to not be aligned. It's like when someone has a huge goal. I had this conversation with our sales reps the other day, our leaders, and it's like, hey, when you set out to do this goal and you outline what it takes, right? The second you compromise on this, you are also consciously choosing a different outcome than your original intention. The second you determine and you choose this rather than this. So the second you go back, you leave at 8:59 when your intention was to leave at 9:00 at night. Guess what? You just compromised this.
Yeah, you did.
You just compromised it. Yeah. And it might seem small, but now all of a sudden this is a different thing.
Yeah, it is.
It might be a 1 degree difference, but it's different.
Yeah.
And so it's having a complete integrity to whatever it is that you're setting out to do. And guess what? We're all imperfect.
Yeah.
So that's where the grace comes back in. And it's like, okay, why did I choose this? What were the needs? What were the things? Am I out of intention and out of alignment? Then you can maybe it's finding a new alignment, or maybe it's recommitting and refocus and all that. But none of it's bad. It's not like there's no like shame and all those low vibration things. It's like those are I don't think we're met. I think we experience those because we live in a scarce fear world. Yeah, right. And a lot of patterns of fear and anxiety that we've in some ways infused into our society. But again, anyway, it's nothing's good or bad. It's just, hey, let's just consciously understand what we're doing.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people take action just again, from what they feel like they need to do. And just whether they fail or they hit, or like, if they don't hit the target, I feel like a lot of people don't like take a step back and evaluate. And sometimes they'll shame themselves in the sense of like, oh, I should have achieved this, or I should have done that. Oh, I didn't work till 9:00, and they'll shame themselves. But really it's like, no, there's a reason you did what you did. Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
And if it's okay, do I need to step up the discipline? Do I need accountability, something like that? Or do I need to change the focus, change the target, or change the alignment? Right.
And one thing I want to add to that real quick is, you know, I haven't really been in tune with my emotions until recently. Like, and so sometimes in this whole process, right, we can talk about it and we might have a really quick reverberation. We might have a really quick recoil to get back into things. So in other words, we process things really quickly. However, what that can appear to other people sometimes is, hey, you're not, I've realized that emotions sometimes is like, I'm sitting in the mud with somebody. I'm sitting there and I'm actually like letting them, I'm validating the way they're feeling as long as they want to. And there's no right or wrong way. If someone wants to sit in that, as long as they want, like, I'm here for it. But I think sometimes when you're really in the self-development and sales and entrepreneurship and all that, sometimes, at least for me, I'll be honest, like I had an aversion to the victim mentality or whatever, but how that would come across to people, and a lot of times, like, this guy just doesn't get it. He's out of touch. He doesn't, you know, I'm not feeling like connected to him. And sometimes that connection is just being able to sit with somebody in that and realize that that's completely perfect. Like there's no, you don't need to change that. It's just like sitting in the mud with the emotions of it, as long as they want. It's like, you know, I went to In-N-Out the other day. And, you know, again, high intentionality. I want to treat my body, blah, 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 right? And then I go there and it's like, sometimes it's also really intentional to just be like, hey, I'm just going to go and I'm going to like just enjoy this and just like not be so uptight about it, because the uptightness isn't a vibe. That's not a vibe. Sometimes it's just a vibe. It's like, hey, let's go get a burger, let's get a shake, and let's just be in our bodies and just chill, just have fun. Anyway, a lot of stuff.
No, it's a lot, dude. There's something else to unpack there. You know, when you said, if you make a commitment to go till 9:00 and you leave at 8:59, I call that internal integrity. And I feel like a lot of people set these very high standards for themselves for whatever reason. Either they feel external pressure or there's something internally that they haven't addressed of why that's pushing them, or even if they do know. But let's say they set a high target. And let's say it's like, you know, let's say someone made 100,000. They're like, I'm going to make 250K this year. And then, you know, or let's just, for easy sakes, 240K. So it's 20,000 a month. And then let's say their first month, they do 12,000. So they're not on pace. So they start getting in their head. Whereas if they should have done 20,000. And what I've realized is, there's a couple things there. Like, one, you need to be able to reverse engineer things to micro actions to be able to hit the target. But once you get those micro actions, I like to have people actually start very low, like very, very low, like something that they know they could do like without a doubt. So if somebody's coming to me saying, Nick, I struggle waking up at 5:30 and I want to get to what you're doing, I'll say, and they're waking up at like, let's say 8:00. The trick isn't just overnight. Like, you could, but it's easier to do, okay, let's do 7:30. Right. And then, and again, you're not shaming them if they don't hit it. You're just saying, what can we learn? How can we improve? And then you start building that momentum, that authority. Hey, I said I was going to do 7:30. I did it. And then you can take that same discipline and keep doing it either with your time you wake up or to your sales, to relationship, whatever. And for me, I've just stacked these little things up over time of like, hey, I said I was going to do this and I did it. And then, so when I say I'm going to go do the next thing, I believe, which all that matters, self-belief that I'm going to do it. And if you can get that conviction, that internal conviction, internal integrity, that moral authority, it's easier to get momentum and it's easier to get into that high vibration of confidence 100%. And attraction.
And I would call that in some ways building out your masculinity.
Yeah.
Again, not a gender thing.
Yeah, no.
Masculinity is like being able to create in the physical realm. And so if you want to do that, if that's what you're going for, again, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Some of this conversation might seem paradoxical to people because we're talking about, well, if you don't get to 9 and you choose 8:59, then you're just compromising your goal. And there's the other side of it. It's like, well, yeah, you got to have the grace. You got to have a capacity. You have to have a container big enough for yourself to house your imperfections.
Yeah.
So when I have an intention to not yell at my kids, and I inevitably do, the only thing that's going to help me get back to that intention of what my original thing was actually just going easy on myself.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay,
yeah.
like, it's okay. I'm imperfect. Let me go.
Yeah.
And now let me get back to presence. Let me get back to
Nice.
this process. But one thing you said, I lost my train of thought. You said, what was the thing that led up to the thing that you just said before this?
I was talking about moral authority and just like that commitment to yourself, like following through.
So if you break down that piece, right? Again, if someone's listening to this and they're like, if this is their I am, it's like, I want to increase my ability to provide for myself or my masculinity or make more money or whatever that falls into that umbrella, be a better provider, be more stable, be more safe, for people to feel stable around, whatever, emotionally. Well, again, self-belief, if you reverse engineer that, it just means that you believe yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Confidence is self-belief. Self-belief means I believe myself, which means that you follow through on things, which, like you said,
exactly.
So why do some people get overwhelmed or they lose motivation? Is because their thing that they set is they're a rookie rep and they say, I want to go sell 1,000 accounts. And it's like, Bingo. Well, your first day, I had a guy do that, and his first day, literally like 20 doors in, he's like, I'm done. And he trained, he's as well trained as anybody. Yeah. But it was simply that he had set an expectation. There you go. That was just way beyond his own capacity. Yeah. He could have done that if he would have started out and just said, hey, what's step A on the path to Z? Yeah. And let me just do A. And let me create a capacity there. Yes. And then let me go do B and C and D. And it's all just the capacity, right? Some of the stuff that I'm doing now, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to my investments, when it comes to all the things I'm juggling, if I would have done that and plopped myself into that 5 years ago, it would have probably bankrupted me. It probably would have made me overwhelmed. It probably would have made me anxious, right? One thing at my kids' school that I loved is they do these like kind of assessments where the principal I guess they call him a principal. I don't know. Well, it's not a principal. I don't know what he's called, but some leader. He comes in, he's like, to my son, we're talking about things that kind of overwhelm him and stuff. And he draws a donut and he says, the middle of the donut is your comfort zone, the hole. Mm-hmm. Then the donut is your growth zone. And then beyond that is your anxiety zone outside of the donut. And he's like, how does this type of math feel to you? And some of it was like on the edge of the anxiety zone. Some of it was in the comfort zone. It was just having a conversation. It's like, we don't want to be in the anxiety zone, but that's where you're going to put yourself. If you decide to, I have people that come to me and they're like, they're making 30 grand a year right now. And they're like, I want to go, it's like, let's see your vision. It's like, I want to make 10 million a year. And it's like that's going to put you in the anxiety zone real quick, very quick, real quick. So let's talk about the growth zone things that can help you. So like I said, if I would have plopped myself into my current place 5 years ago, it would have buried me. Yeah. But I've built capacity. Maybe I bought a duplex, then I bought a 14, then I bought a 40, then I bought 120. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm doing things literally in my sleep that would have drowned me. Yeah. 5 years ago. Yeah. And it's just about that capacity thing.
It's it, dude. And it grows is what you're saying. The capacity grows as you become better. The problem is people compare themselves to people that are way too far ahead of them, or they're just, they're setting their standard in an unrealistic, just an unrealistic standard or goal where, if you just get a little bit better and compete against nobody but yourself, it's inevitable that you will amass two massive things in any part of your life. Tony Robbins told the story of Siri Lindley. She was, she actually spoke at his event where she's like, hey, I want to get into triathlons, and mind you, she can't swim. And she's like, I want to go compete. And she does her first, she gets lessons. She eventually, barely is able to tread water and she does a triathlon, somehow manages to finish swimming. Of 27 women, she finishes last. Okay. Most people in that situation could be like, this isn't for me. I can't do this. But Siri shifted her focus, right? The event was the same, but her focus was different than what most people was. And it was, this is amazing that I just finished, she didn't give two shits that she finished last place in like dead far last, embarrassingly last. She was celebrating what most people would just hate.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened to Siri was this was the same woman that eventually became world champion. She took the same mentality of just, okay, how can I get a little bit better? She wasn't competing against anybody but herself, and her focus was always on what she had versus what she didn't have. And when that is the focus of just a little bit better and competing against yourself, and like, I have so much, I'm so grateful for this. It's that abundant thinking, and more comes to people that get in that way of thinking, that lifestyle, that frequency of vibration.
And can I say something to that?
Yeah.
I feel like if she might not have said this like in this way, but even though she got last in a thing, it gave her energy, meaning she was aligned. Her I am was aligned to it. Why do a lot of people feel like that same thing they feel completely put off by? Some of it's, maybe their mindset on it, but what is their mindset dictated by? It's based on, maybe it's not aligned for them. So it's not actually giving them energy. That's how someone can do that and build up that capacity, is because like, hey, I was called to do this. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't care if I got last, like this is all divine. This is all just part of my thing.
Love that.
So,
it's part of the identities, who they're becoming. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm sure you would say this for yourself, but would you say that, there are things that to the outside world looks like just hard work or dense or, whatever word you want to use, that to you, it's like, I don't even,
like hyper regimented, like this feels super like, disciplined. Yeah.
It feels like, I feel like I'm floating, right? What I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I always think back to like just 3 years ago. If I were to look at my life now, I'd be like, holy, I would blow up back then. Yeah. You're trying to do
it's all relative. Yeah.
And what I do now is very easy for me, right? It's because as you said, built the capacity. And dude, if people can just get one message from this, it's slow down and just focus on, make sure you're in alignment with yourself and what you really want, what makes you happy, what makes you tick. Remove the shame, remove the distractions, and focus on getting a little bit better every day. With a bigger like a purpose. If you're focused on who you're becoming, Kevin, rather than what you're trying to achieve, you can't lose. And my focus right now, and I know I can't lose with this, is I'm trying to become a better version of myself every single day. Better man, better communicator, better with empathy, better at showing love, better at executing. Yeah. Better with my physique, my body, my health, my energy. And when you're competing against yourself, you can't lose. Now, the only way you can lose is if you set unrealistic expectations, like for example, a rep that's like, hey, that sold or never sold is like, I want to sell 1,000 accounts, or I want to make $500,000 my first year. Like I'm the best. It's like, cool. Well, I did close to that my first year, and my focus was actually 500. Yeah. But I trained like a dog. And so I even had lower expectations for myself. And then I started smashing those, and I built the internal integrity. Like I can do more. I can do more. And then you get in that abundance where momentum is built. Yeah. In everything great, whether it's real estate, whether it's compound interest, or like sales, business, you need momentum. And it's that energy that is perpetuating that abundance. It's either that or scarcity. And the difference isn't, I think the execution is the focus of the mind, right? You could have two people that execute and achieve the same thing, but one is thinking, oh, I didn't do enough. And the other thing, scarcity. The other thing is, holy cow, I can't believe I just did. I'm so grateful. And those two people end up in very different places.
Yeah. And I think that I think the thing that I want to speak to for people too is like, there's people that are listening that are feeling very, they might feel very, in survival, and so I think it's important to understand that, I'm feeling good today. Right. And that's great. But like, I kind of view things as like a scale of, if this is like -100, this is 0, and this is 100, like we might find ourselves on that scale, depending on, we might face a reactive thing or a trigger that we set us off or whatever, that puts us in more of that reactive survival mode. And if that's where you are, it's like, it's okay. Like it's a range, right? Yeah. I think there's so many things out there, therapy, breath work, all sorts of modalities that people can use. And sometimes it's to take you from a negative 100 to a baseline 0. Sometimes it's the same tool is going to take you from a 0, and you're like, hey, I'm feeling really creative. I'm feeling really like I'm not trying to go from survival to just like baseline. I'm trying to like create, and I'm trying to like just find enlightenment or whatever, like really creative side of things. And sometimes we find ourselves on different sides of the equation. So, if someone's feeling like they're on that survival side and it's like, hey, all these things are great, but like, I'm not even like, you're talking about something that like is a nice to have because you have the privilege to be where you are. And so I just want to say that like everyone finds themselves on this side of the coin sometimes. And it's okay. Absolutely. And it's totally okay. And it's like, it's all part of it's all part of it all.
Journey. Yeah. I'd say it's more than okay. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because
it's necessary. Actually.
It's necessary. It's part of the story of who you're becoming. And dude, I always say this, like your shit is your fertilizer. It's just the perspective you look at it. One perspective is shit. One perspective, it's something that grows everything. You know?
And if you can't find that perspective, right, in the midst of it all.
Yeah. What do you advise?
Huh?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. It's finding, I mean, to be honest, like ChatGPT this is such a cool source, but yeah, just finding that grace, within yourself and trying to, again, it's hard sometimes to find perspective when you're in just survival mode, but trying to see how something is empowering versus disempowering, right? Like how can I turn this into an empowering thought? Correct. And sometimes it does sometimes it takes overcoming the fear of going to see a therapist or whatever it is. But it's just it's just perspective. And, it is, dude. And we've all been in that place where the Jekyll and Hyde is out to play and our egos are elevated. And it's like, there's nothing that's going to get us down from this, like whatever we're in, this seemingly just completely opposite of what you want to be sometimes for me. And hyper reactive, hyper survival mode. And it just, you just breathing and taking it one step at a time and having that grace. But
that's huge, man. I think for me that my adversity and pain, we all have it. All pain is temporary. Mm-hmm. All adversity comes and goes. There's no season that lasts forever. Mm-hmm. And same goes for the good seasons, right? And so we can't control the seasons. We can't control the pain always. We can't control the adversity, but we can control how we think about it, what we focus on. Mm-hmm. And that's always a choice. No matter who hurt you, no matter how bad your situation is, how broke you are, whatever the death sentence is with the cancer, the terminal illness, there's always a perspective to look at it, where the glass is, maybe the world's saying the glass is 2% full, or 98% empty, but you can see that it's 2% full. Mm-hmm. And what's hard is when it's so empty that we prioritize. And sometimes for some of us, some people have their glass at 90% full, and but they're seeing that it's 10% empty. Mm-hmm. And some people, their glasses, they're going through a lot. They've only got a little bit, 30% full, but we tend to see the 70%. But what I've noticed is even if it's 5% full, when you focus on that 5%, it starts filling up faster. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you might have to get proximity to a therapist, a friend, pray, turn to God, the universe, whatever that is for you, just something bigger than you, to give you perspective on how can this help you. And I've learned to not ask the question, why am I enduring this? I've learned to ask, what can I learn from this instead? Because why puts me in a state of usually pity, and but when I ask, what can I learn, it puts me in a sense of empowerment. Mm-hmm. Or like, sometimes I'll ask why, but sometimes I feel like it's the glass half or 5% full is maybe you're so damn broken that your comeback's going to be that much bigger. You'll be able to inspire more people. Mm-hmm. For me, when I was so broken, that was the only thing I could hold on to hope for. Mm-hmm. Was, dude, this is so low. where, hey, maybe I'll be able to relate to some people that have suffered.
Yeah.
Give them hope.
Best position to help the person used to be.
Exactly. And that perspective carried me through a lot of adversity and pain. And I went through a second round of it last year of like major, like we go through big valleys in our life. Last year was a big valley for me, probably the biggest, even after a divorce. And that valley, I had an impression last week was, I believe it's from God. It was like, hey, I brought you that low so I could take you this high and much higher. And, I think we feel joy and in life, in direct proportion to the amount of pain that we've also endured. And so shift the perspective. If you're going through shit, there will be seasons where your summer comes. And I'll tell you, you people in Florida, like you're all a bunch of pieces of shit with the weather. I love you guys, but I'm jealous. But look, I'm not, because when I suffer the winters here, endure the winters, I learned to appreciate the summers here that much more. So my summer is better than what they have without the beaches, because of that perspective, that appreciation that comes. And so whatever your situation is, there's always a way to, what I say, sell yourself on the opportunity. If nothing else, it's just, what transformation is this going to bring you? Mm-hmm. And dude, I'll tell you, nothing will change somebody faster than pain. And so,
and on the other side, again, it's all just what's useful for you in the moment. Because on the other side, I know people that have such, they feel so comfortable with pain that they also have not considered that, what if this looked light? You know what I mean? So sometimes there's a programming of that where someone's so used to pain that they kind of go towards that. And sometimes that's the perspective to get you from where you are. And sometimes the perspective is like, it's okay, like, how would this look like in a joyful way? Is there a different way that I can experience this thing? Is there a different way I can create experience or create learning that doesn't involve pain? I have a buddy that we talked about that the other day. We're both really deep in the healing work, and he just talked about how, he really loves experiencing the pain, because every time there's this requisite really cool, joy and everything. That's great. Like, again, whatever someone wants to experience, great. But we just were pondering about, like, hey, well, what if it didn't have to look that way? And you could kind of get that experience without the pain. And I think I like asking how. It's like, if I'm feeling a certain way, like how could this look joyful? And then that's where I think the creativity comes in. Like, how could what I'm experiencing right now feel joyful? And then it's like, well, maybe this could be a little different, or this. And then it's like, okay, well, is that out of reach? Like, what could I do to actually make that happen? And usually that can happen. And I did that with my job. Like, I was at a point where I felt a little bit burnt out, if I'm being honest, a couple of years ago. And I was like, kind of just done. And I was just, I had belief systems around how it needed to look in my job. And I was like, well, what would it look like if I was really aligned on this? And it's like, well, I wouldn't travel anymore. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do first recruiting meetings, things like that.
Nice. So you started setting the boundaries.
And it's just like, oh, like, but that's what my job is. Like, that's kind of what came up. I was like, well, this
but is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, no, now all of a sudden I stepped over that fence and the fear, and I was like, oh, I created what I thought didn't exist.
Yep. And
the cool thing about that is, you actually, when you do those things and you're aligned, you show up so much better for your people. And so much better.
You could have an uphill battle of your work. Is like, it might not be optimal, but you'll find more success because the situation might not be optimal, but you will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It changes everything.
It does. Yeah. I had the same thing happen in Utah where, the optimal thing for solar is blitzing, right? Mm-hmm. And I basically just said, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Didn't align.
Yeah. It didn't align. And dude, I've made more than 99% of the industry without having to compromise what didn't align with me. Mm-hmm. And now we have built a company around it. Now we're continuing to impact people because of that. And so sometimes the alignment it's so critical. Sometimes it's more than just the person, because you might not be the only one that feels out of touch with that. And then you can attract and build a community, build opportunity for other people. And I think that's what a lot of the success stems from. And so, but if people don't get aligned and don't get that attunement and that, authenticity, that authentic side of themselves, because it's like the tail wagging the dog is what I say.
100%.
Dude, it's always that.
Can I double click on what you said?
Please.
So when you said you created a control variable in your own life, which is, hey, I'm not fucking with this anymore.
Yeah.
I know that everyone thinks I have to do the Blitz model.
Yep.
I don't. And guess what? I don't think very many people, especially people that have kids, like they don't want to leave Utah.
Correct.
They would love a situation in Utah. And so you said you had the fear, you overcame the fear, and you said, I'm going to fix this variable right here.
I don't care what the cost is.
Exactly. I'm going to fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
And what happened was when you planted that flag into the ground and said, this isn't changing, this intention isn't moving.
Yeah.
That's where all the creativity comes in.
Yeah.
Rather than I'm going to go follow this, I got to do this, I got to do that. No, you align with what is aligned.
Yes.
What's aligned? Guess what? When you do that and there's not a plan B, you get hella creative.
Yes.
And you're like, well, we could sell it in this way. We could sell it in this way. Here's these municipalities that are a little more friendly, whatever.
You start figuring out.
Exactly. Yeah. All these different ideas that weren't there before. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm living exactly how I want. I'm not leaving. I'm making more money because I'm not resenting going out there.
Yep.
And it's just like, that's it, bro.
Didn't need to change industries. Didn't need
exactly.
I see so many people changing the industry because they think the industry is going to change it. But what needs to happen is, and to sometimes people do need to change the industry, right? But more often than not, people don't need to change the industry. They need to change themselves and not cater their life to the industry.
Yeah. But
cater their industry to their life.
100%. And it's not just job. It's not just your job. It's everything. It's you. The cool thing is you've just found a thing that you can anchor to in all the aspects of your life, right?
Bingo.
That's how religion was for me. It's like, okay, what did I do? I'm here. I don't even know. Like, this feels incredible. And how did I get here? I did this. And how does that apply to everything? It's like a pattern, right? So you just took that thing and it's like, well, what if I think that I have to work out at Voss every day? But I'm planting my flag and I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to do what my body feels like. Here's some things I enjoy. I enjoy yoga. I enjoy this. I enjoy that. I'm just going to wake up and do that. I'm not going to go and do this because I think I have to.
Right.
You do that with your body. You do that with your relationships. You say, hey, this is the type of relationship I'm having. This is the flag I'm planting. Now I'm going to get creative and figure it out. It literally is the same mechanism in everything. So if there's anything in your life that you feel a lack of alignment or just this like, man, every time I do this, I feel like my energy is draining. Because some people will be like, what does alignment feel like? It's when you do something and you feel way less. Yeah, the unaligned feeling is I'm walking away from this thing drained. And I'm just like, dude, I'm avoiding this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. And so it's just like, cool, scan your life.
Yep.
And do this exact same thing that you did with your business and say, hey, how would this feel joyful and light?
Yes.
It would look like this. Plant your flag there.
Yep.
And just send it. And you'll see over time that on the other side of that, you'll find that feeling in that as well. And that's the thing.
That's it. For me, when you're aligned with this, tell me what you think, but that work doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. It's just, again, it could be, there's days that I'm like,
there's some days where it's like, okay, this is gonna be shit, but yeah.
No, I to be honest, there's some days where it's just like, it's such a busy day, but it's like I'm buzzing. Like it's just like I don't know. I'm just creating. I'm creating in real time, and it just I think that's what alignment gives. It's
that fulfillment.
Yeah, it's like, and I think when you're aligned, you can also not have to rely so much on systems and processes are there because we're scared about just trusting in the present moment. So we need to just plan out everything, to infinity. But if you're aligned and you just act presently, then it's like, that's where the energy comes from. Cause you're not focusing so much of your bandwidth on manipulating and controlling the future.
Yeah.
You're just presently creating. And that feels so that just like gives you so much energy. And it also gives the person that whatever you're interacting with in the world, it feeds them too. It's an infinity sign. If I'm ever sitting with somebody and I know that I have like dropped some just like insane value, I will always preemptively thank them before they thank me because they created a space to be fertile soil for me to give my gift.
Nice.
And that's just as valuable as me giving my gift.
Yeah.
Them being a receiver, it's the receiving
huge.
and the giving.
It is.
And they're just as valuable.
Yep.
And if you're if you're present and you're not trying to manipulate and control, that's where that buzzing energy that's just feeding you, and you feed the world, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is amazing. And then, like, in sales terms, you could translate that as letting go of your agenda and your intent to sell. Just remove your agenda and completely detach from the sale, detach from the outcome of the sale or recruiting meeting or any type of business meeting.
Yeah.
Or
it's sometimes the other thing that's bringing your presence isn't systems and processes. It's, man, I have this, I'm overthinking when I'm at a party because I don't want to, I feel like I'll look dumb, or those are all the things too. These moments or these fragments that you had that are also coming from your past into your present. So there's the systems, there's the systems and processes, the controlling the future. And there's all these things coming from the past that also are hindering your presence because you're thinking about being rather than just being.
Right.
And so those are all things that's the work of it, right? It's like, how can I, what are the things that are causing me to want to control and manipulate everything around me? And what are the things that are like not making me want to just be myself and just rest into who I am and experience who I am presently? And it's like both sides of the coin that you can kind of look at, and they're all like throwing a wrench in your present moment.
They are.
And it's just places to look. And it's like, again, it's all good. It's we're all, again, tomorrow I might have a wrench thrown at me. Like, it's all, it's all just part of life. But
it is. I think that's just a good question to ask yourself is what's preventing me from being present? Mm-hmm. I think it's a great, like, reflective thing to ask, because the secret I've learned from mentors, and you're saying this too, is being present. Mm-hmm. Too many of us, like achievers, we live in the future. People who are depressed live in the past. People who are anxiety ridden, you're living in the future, you know? And if you can just be present everywhere you're at, and that means the workaholic, you're present with your family. A person who is just lazy, not effective at work, be present at work. Mm-hmm. It's a choice. It's every hour, every day. And people will say, well, I struggle at that. Well, stop struggling by shifting perspective quickly, saying, what's stopping me from being present? Mm-hmm. Like, what's inhibiting me? And then just sit with that, right? Find out what that is. If you can identify it, when you bring clarity to something, you empower yourself.
Get curious and not judge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of people lack clarity. They don't know what to change because they're so distracted and just all over the place. But if you just slow down a little bit, think, hey, what's stopping me from being present right here, right now? I've had these moments where I'm like, dude, I got to go, like, time crunch, I got to achieve. Where's that coming from? What's stopping me from being present with this person? And sometimes it's real, right? But like, if it's happening all the time and it's affecting the quality of relationships, that's going to hinder your business. That's going to hinder your success. Connection is everything. So, like, audit yourself, ask yourself the question, where's that coming from? Why do I feel like I got to go? You know what I mean?
I miss most of my meetings. It's kind of funny. Like, I've kind of released that, like, expectation.
That's
like
healthy.
Most of the time I'll miss probably 60% of my commitments. And it's like, it just is what it is. And a lot of times I actually try to deliberately not apologize. Like, I don't like putting people out, but I also don't want to apologize for if I'm presently engaged in something.
Yeah.
So I'll try to phrase it in a way that doesn't undermine my presence, but also, like, be respectful of, like, hey, I know that you were planning on this thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's, I don't know. I choose my words, I try to be aware of, like, the energy at play there.
That's good.
But it's just funny. Like, I was coaching some people, and when you create the expectation of, like, having to create value for people, like, that didn't align for me. I just like showing up, and, like, it created this thing for me where I'm like, man, I'm not actually looking forward to do this call because I don't know. I have this, like, expectation of adding value.
Yeah.
I add more value when I'm just like, like, I don't want to have to show up at this time every week. I want to just, hey, I'm feeling like let's go grab lunch. But sometimes that doesn't fit into the framework of,
don't worry about it, though, but yeah.
If someone doesn't want to, if someone's doing coaching, it's like there's an expectation. And
there is.
But then there's a re-invitation to the person, me, to say, hey, how would this feel aligned? Okay, there'd be no expectation of like timing, and yeah, it's going to
Yes.
feel weird to most people, but I'm going to find the right people that are going to be okay with
There
it,
you
and then
go.
it's going to be great.
Yep. That's
You know?
so powerful. My podcast with Mitch, we were talking a lot about finding people that align with you, because if you do, it'll empower you. You'll be more in your frequency of attraction and vibration. Whereas if you just pull on a lot of people trying to grow fast, hit your goal, right, hit numbers, you're attracting a lot of people that won't level you up and will actually hinder you. And you know, that if they're hindering you, all the success is going to be hindered. So sometimes it's better to be more selective with people that will empower you, that won't judge you for that. And all of us we're all so different, but it's just finding the right people that do align with you. For me, it's people that have humility, that love to build and grow, love to pour into people, but yeah, and serve, right? And so,
and probably not afraid to just own who they are.
yes, exactly. People who are real, vulnerable. Yeah, those are the people I attract, and I detract the opposite, right? I detract the like. Somebody could look at me and be like, "Oh, Nick would like people that are successful and hardworking." No, not always. Hell no. Because if they don't align on those other things, like you're going to pull down my vibration, my authenticity, because you're going to try to change me. We don't need to change. You live you, I'll be me, right?
Yeah.
And we'll both have a lot more fulfilling life. And so it's just it's that chosen family that you're choosing to bring into your life, right? And when you find those brothers and sisters, it's so important to like grab on. So I don't know what the hell we're going to do, but we need to do something.
I love that you said chosen family, because that's even a thing that, I mean, again, there's different things that are more entrenched in our belief systems than others, right? Like, family as an example, right? It's like everything's my chosen family, including my family. Like, if I don't resonate with my family, it doesn't matter. Like, they get the same treatment as anybody else.
I love that.
And so again, it's just these belief systems of like, we think we're born with this, not born, but we're programmed with this belief system that we have. And sometimes it's like, wait, I can't not think this, but there's an exercise is like, you actually can.
Yeah.
And why would you? Because if a belief isn't useful for you, you don't have to, there's nothing that you have to use it. You don't have to use that.
100%.
If it's more useful for you to not to think of your family as anyone else, because it's hurting you to not think about it that way, then you can.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many things, I actually view, again, this might be controversial, but I don't care, because this is what I believe. But it's a way for me to be curious and to add, like, show love to everybody. But for example, trans people, right? Like, I view that as such a, you think about a society that's like, in some ways, consciously choosing to choose a thing that most people are, like, the majority of society, or a lot of people in society have cast hate, cast judgment, like deep judgment and hate.
Yeah.
And in spite of that, choosing to, again, anyone can believe however they want.
Yeah.
But choosing to overcome a belief system about their gender, right? Something that is as inherent, like as ingrained into you from a kid,
literally,
as anything.
Yeah.
I view that, and I'm like, hey, whatever you choose to do, like, I'm just applauding the ability and the overcoming the fear.
Oh yeah.
To choose that.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I can create empathy.
I like that.
Because it's just beautiful. Like, it's just like, man, bro. Like, you're consciously choosing to
really be authentic,
be in this authentic place that is really lonely. Yeah. And I'm going to choose to empower and applaud you for choosing you, no matter what. And
I like that perspective.
That just adds to empathy, because ultimately I want to have empathy towards every single thing on earth.
Yeah.
That's how I feel natural. Yeah. I want to do that. And
Same.
So if I'm not feeling that way, then I'm going to find a way to create that.
I love that, bro. Yeah. For me, it's, I can relate to that. I like the authentic side of, like, seeing them through that lens. For me, I agree. Like it's all about empathy and love, no matter who's going through what, and even something that might be a belief system that I disagree with. Right. I still try to look at the perspective through like, hey, everyone's going through something different. I don't know their whole story. So why would I be one to cast a stone?
Well, and that's the other thing. I actually believe that you would choose the exact same thing
given their circumstances.
People act according to like
their environment.
People just do what every single moment led to this.
Yeah.
And I would have acted the same way as Hitler. You would have acted the same way as Hitler. Like I choose to believe that. Again, another way to add empathy and grace.
I like that.
And that's where my set point is I want empathy and grace.
Yeah.
So if I'm creating hate or judgment for that person,
you're going to get
the same. Well, that's just a place in me that I'm unwilling to love myself. I haven't gone to that level of love for myself. And I don't want to do that.
I love that, Kevin.
I don't want to do that.
That's deep, bro.
If I see somebody and I see myself, ultimately I want to try to see myself. But if I've seen somebody, I want them to feel like there's not a place that you can go to that there's not like, I'm not going to send love your way, because I don't want to ever be in that place.
Yeah.
If I got to the darkest night of my soul, I would hope that there was somebody on earth or in the universe that was able to see me in that moment, to help see me and to help me to change from that place.
Yeah.
And that's the only way possible.
Yeah.
If there was zero souls or zero light that was able to actually see me,
I'd be miserable.
then that would suck.
Yeah.
And so
so many people feel that way, bro.
Try to embody that as much as I can. But.
That's amazing. We need more people like you.
Huh?
We need more people like you.
I suck at it a lot, but that's just, again, I like talking about set points, about intentions, about flags that you can start to move towards. Do I operate like that 100% of the time? Of course not.
Yeah.
Do I judge a lot? Of course. Do I hate on myself? Of course. I still do. So when I'm talking about these things, make no mistake that there's this, I'm sitting on this like podium preaching. It's like, no, I'm intimately experiencing the polarity of these things.
Yeah.
So
I love that, bro. Well, this has been deep, golden nuggets left and right. And yeah, dude, I've loved this. I've loved this. If you can, any last words for the audience?
No, man. I think I squeezed the lemon as hard as I could, bro.
You did give it a good squeeze there at the end. I love it. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. For anybody who's watched, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, we do have a YouTube version. But just a challenge for all you guys to, go seek out that authentic side of yourself. I've learned that, life, the quality of our life comes down to a lot of things, the quality of our emotions, the quality of our relationships, but also comes down to the quality of the questions you ask. Mm-hmm. And as salespeople, a lot of our sales are made and influences gained through questions that we ask. But the most important questions are not the ones that you direct towards other people. They're the ones that you direct towards yourself. And so question, does this align with me? Does this fit? Whatever it is. And sometimes you'll realize you don't need to change companies. You don't need to change locations. You don't need to change. But something that needs to change might be you. And you might have adjusted your lifestyle to cater towards a job where I promise you, I'm a living testament, Kevin is too, where if you adapt your lifestyle, you adapt your job to what you feel proud of, what you feel aligned with, everything will work out. Whether you call it God, call it the universe, manifestation. But I fully believe that. So,
and by the way, to echo that, the more I think about my wife or my kids being different than who they are, the worse the relationship is. The more I focus on myself and how I am interpreting the stimuli around me and the things that are creating, like I said, past and future fragments, the more that all of a sudden everything around me becomes better. So anyway.
So good. I love it, bro. This is so insightful. Guys, thank you. Kevin, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Of course.
Okay. Call it a wrap.
Sick.